Hello and welcome to the I Own podcast. I have two special guests with me today, my mom and my dad, Daryl and Julie Coop. We'll start off by giving them a little time to introduce themselves, and then we'll flow into our conversation for today. So I thank you for sharing your breath and your energy with me, and I'll pass it off to my dad.
Again, I'm Daryl Coop, and just a little background. Was born in southern Alberta, in Calgary, but was raised in a small farming town, Pincher Creek. Lived on a small farm there, and for the first 15 years of my life I was there, and then after that I went to school in Saskatchewan, and kind of finished grade 12 there, and then that's when I started to move around more to Alberta, back to Saskatchewan, back to Alberta, and then finally coming out to BC here to Abbotsford to go to a school for, it was a Bible school at that time. It was Columbia Bible Institute, and quick thing from that is that's where I met my wife to be, Julie.
I'm Julie Coop, and I was raised in Surrey on a really small farm compared to Daryl's. We had 25 acres. It was kind of a hobby farm from my dad, but we had probably 20 head of cattle. And I went to school in Surrey, and in grade 11, my mom thought it would be a good idea that I went to school in Abbotsford, to a private school called MEI, where I did not care for it, but I went, and my girlfriend at the time was going to the Bible school that Daryl went to, so I'd heard about this Daryl guy. And the following year, I was cooking at our church for a fundraiser, and my girlfriend's brother brought Daryl along. And I was gonna say I was pretty smitten and love at first sight, and that's how we met.
Just as a little note here, this is my fourth interview podcast, and I'm just like beaming over here smiling because it's with my parents, and it feels really cool to be able to share this with them. And yeah, I love hearing about their story because that's part of my lineage, and that's part of where I came from. Now, when you two first met, and you said it was love at first sight.
For me.
For you, okay.
He was scared.
Yeah, let's dive into that. Like, what was it like from both of your perspectives when you first met?
Well, I shouldn't say that I was scared. It was a situation where I was not looking for an intimate relationship at that time. I was more, I'll say, broadening my horizon with friends and everything, but again, that's the way life is. It's all of a sudden throws you a curveball, and you got to kind of react to it. And well, I did get smitten. It just took me a little longer. That's all.
You mean you can't plan when you fall in love and have it all organized how way you want it?
No, and that's the biggest thing. Is the more you try to plan, I think sometimes the more you'll be disappointed or kind of thrown off, because again, a lot of times a person that you will have, or ability to have a relationship for the rest of your life, you might not see them as that person until you actually get to know them, and to get to know them, it sometimes comes in very different situations, and this definitely was a situation where she was younger than me. She was actually still in high school at that time, and I'd been out of high school for quite a few years now already, and so we were at a lot of different, I'll say, maturity age there, plus years of age too, in that. So it was a little different in that aspect.
You had lived on your own too, where I was still living with mom and dad and was pretty naive. And you had been out on your own. Mm-hmm. So we were very different walks of life when we met.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As a place to explore, Mom, you said that it was love at first sight. So there's like a yes in your body towards Dad. Now, was there a point in the relationship early on or at some point when it wasn't? Because, you know, was it just fairy tale, everything happily ever after? Or was there a point where you're kind of hesitant?
I did not hesitate. I remember after meeting Dad that first night, I said to my girlfriend, I'm going to marry him. And she went, ew, not Coop. And I was so drawn to him and attracted to his personality. He was so fun. He had the best smile. He was just, he was a Christian, and I was just so drawn to him and attracted to him that way. He was really goofy. We sat in a coffee shop. He wore red pants that were a little tight, a very, very tight purple satin shirt that all the buttons gaped. He had a blue bandana on his head. He combed his hair with a fork at the table. He made me laugh. He was quite the character, I'll put it that way. But I didn't waver on my feelings for him.
And as it stands, how long have you been married now?
35 and a
5 years,
half.
yep.
Yeah.
This end of February will be our 36th. So we got married in 1987.
That's a true testament. Not many people get that far.
No. Yeah.
Well, we both have parents that, my parents were in their 60th year of marriage. And I know, other family members too have been married that long or until the spouse usually passes away. So
for us, it's common.
For us, it's quite common in that.
Yeah.
So we know a lot more people that have been married through their lives than divorced, which is a blessing, considering what a lot of people's relationship are nowadays. It's a little different.
And from that point of knowledge and wisdom, what do you have to share of like your keys to a lasting relationship, or what's built yours at least really strong?
I think we listen to each other a lot, and we forgive our misgivings, our quirks. That's who we fell in love with, quirks and all. So when you're having a rough time, I would always say to myself, is your life better with them or without them? And it's always better with them. So you'll let that stuff go.
Yeah, and it's been such a blessing for me to have two parents who are together, who are modeling a loving relationship with that communication. And it's been something, it's really a blessing because, what did I really do to build that or earn that in my life, and to have that? Just because it is really rare. Most of my friends, many people I know have been through divorces, or their parents have, and we had one in the family, cousins of ours, and I remember that affected me a lot, and I'm still kind of finding the threads of how that has affected me and how I relate to people and trust relationships. So it's huge. Mm-hmm. It's huge.
Yeah.
So a little bit about where you're at now and your future dreams, goals. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
You can take that one.
Yeah. Well, our goal was, I won't say to retire, but to shift the type of work that we wanted to be involved in. We've been self-employed basically most of our lives. So it's been something where we're very independent that way, which has been there's pros and cons to being self-employed, where you do have that freedom to make your own decisions, but a lot of it is where if you're not working, you're not getting an income, or depending on how that works, or if things slow down, all of a sudden you're panicky, thinking, okay, where's the next paycheck coming? Where's the next work coming from? And when you're busy, you're thinking, well, when am I ever going to get a break? And it can get very frustrating, but again, it's something that I've really enjoyed. I guess it's like growing up on a farm, where a lot of people have that romantic feeling on a farm, but it's a lot of hard work. But you do have again, it's one of the best lives that you could ever have is working on a farm, working with the land, and just understanding how you're not in control of most things, and how you just have to have faith that things are going to work out, and hard work. So our transition now, though, is to hopefully work with people that need. We've been blessed with our life, and again, there's a lot of people out there that have some need now, and so we do a little bit of volunteer work right now as we work with a ministry, 5 and 2 ministry, which is based in Abbotsford. We cook for approximately 60, or we prepare around 60 meals for people that are, I'll say, down in their luck. They're not necessarily always homeless, but we do this once every second month, and yeah, it's a blessing, but we also have questions about it too, and I'll just pass that on to Julie, just a little what our thoughts are about that.
Yeah, I mean, we just sometimes we wonder as we're while we're making the food, it's a blessing, and the Lord has blessed us by people volunteering to help us or offer us some cash, because Daryl and I are trying to flip the bill on the meals ourselves. So it's always a blessing. My mom helps pay for stuff, and usually for the meat, and our neighbor now is getting involved and likes to help, and by giving a few cash donations, which is always helpful. But then you think, are we enabling the homeless by always feeding them? Will they how do you word it? Well, we get fed, so we don't need to work. We have questions about that. But what we'd like to do, because we didn't get a whole lot of time through our married life because we were self-employed, we worked together to holiday, and we would love to incorporate going on a holiday but working as a volunteer to a disaster relief, and so we could take our motorhome and go there and work for them and help someone build a house or just whatever they need. I'm a cook. I love to cook, so I'm good at that. So Daryl's good with his hands in construction, but also get a little holiday out of it, but make it meaningful for what we're doing. So.
Before my mom started to kind of tear up, I've been starting to tear up just because I'm so proud of my parents and what their dreams are here. And that's something that I know I prayed for both of you, is to be able to have more vacation or see more of the world, because I'm sure anyone can relate to this. When you have somebody you love, you want to have them see all these experiences and open their eyes, because it's simultaneously opening your eyes. You can experience the lives and the love of other people, and you want the best for them. So I feel like that's a really beautiful vision. Mm-hmm. And any other pieces of it that you'd like to expand or share on?
Well, just even, again, I was able to do this before we were married, be able to go on some volunteer trips. One of them was in the early 80s, where there was a major earthquake in California, and one of the towns is Coalinga, which is just off the I-5, and most of the downtown got destroyed, and a lot of houses. And unfortunately, what happened was a lot of bad people came around to prey on these innocent people, and one of the families that we ended up helping out, they gave the contractor $40,000 to start building their house after their last one was destroyed, and he basically poured the foundation and took off with their money, and now they were out of money and no house and just devastated. And so we were able to join on with another help group there with an MCC, or with the disaster service there, and so give our free labor there and help them actually build a house with, not costing them any money, where they had all the materials donated, and then all the labor was free. So being able to have something like that, especially early in your life, kind of, it's something I still remember and still appreciate that I was able to help somebody out there. And like, again, it's when you serve somebody and that reciprocation or the joy you see from a family like this you'll never forget it. It's a feeling you want to have over and over again. And, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And it's so true in that. So that's just part of the history of doing this and that. So really looking forward to it.
There's a whole energy there when you're giving and you're not receiving, especially income or anything back from it, that, any time that I've volunteered and doing anything like that, it's just like, what can I do? What can I do? And there's this it's really wild. Like when I first started my breath, I would just show up and I'd volunteer to help, and I was never getting anything. And I did it because I truly wanted to be there. I truly loved doing it. And the level of service and what came from me, it was just coming from my heart, and my heart was full. Mm-hmm. And then I remember, as I got into transitioning into wanting to do this full time, and then it was all a question of I need to make this much per month. And there was that stress. And then it was how many people are here? How much am I making? And that completely changed my intention for a while, because it took away from that because of that fear that was in me. Mm-hmm. And it was about reclaiming that. And it's so important to be able to work in that way for me, and to offer service from the heart, and to remember what it's like to give from that place, even when we are making an exchange with finances or whatever that might be. So yeah, I really appreciate you mentioning that.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say too that we have been incredibly proud of you with your character wanting to help out people in that. And again, a lot of it is not driven by financial reward. It's just being able to help out. And again, if you have that chance, I see you do it. And again, we hear from other people in that you've helped out. And again, it's very, very uplifting for parents to see their kids have that dedication in their life, and it's a joy to see.
Well, he'll even drive out from Squamish to come. I've got no one to help us cook. He'll come and help us to cook.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's you've been so much of a help. I wouldn't have been able to go to school. I wouldn't have, just upbringing me, raising me. There's so much. And the more that I move forward in my goals and my dreams, I realize, yes, I play a part in it. And that part is so important, and that we, take that charge and responsibility for our life and what we've inherited and what we have. But if I want any of my real big dreams to come true, it's with the help of my family and my community. And really every single thing in the universe has to have a role in place in order for us to really shine our potential. Mm-hmm. So I have infinite gratitude, and we have such a beautiful relationship that we've built over the years because of that. So yeah, I thank you. I thank you so much. One thing I'd like to jump to is, we've developed a really beautiful relationship over the last few years. And the point that I really enjoy is that, from my perspective, we were connecting for many years, I would say mentally, emotionally, and physically, but there was a part of our spiritual relationship which we hadn't developed in as much. And a big part of that was I wasn't sharing that part of my spirituality in my life with you. And then we bridged that a number of years ago now. And you both come from a Christian background, and I'll give you a moment to speak about that in a sec. But I have a way of interacting with, we can call the divine and spirituality. And it is very different from the tradition that you were brought up in. And for many years, though I understood as we were living in a good way and creating what we call spirituality, which is kind kind of so hard to talk about in many ways, in a similar way, but we were using different words, different transitions, and there seemed to be a gap. And I often didn't talk about my personal spirituality because it felt, in some sense, so different. A lot of this was just limiting beliefs I had formed that, when I actually talked to you about it, weren't true. So eventually we began to have more and more conversations about spirituality and our relationship with purpose, God, divine. And what I realized was there was completely a capacity for us to have this, and we had all of our conversations in love, and I don't even know if we had a single argument that was really like butting of heads in our entire years of talking about spirituality. And that's something I'm really proud of, because I feel like it's a big thing to do on a micro scale, because that's what we're struggling with on a macro scale, between people and their different ways of believing and practicing what we can call religion and spirituality, and being able to communicate with one another. So maybe just like a moment to share about your belief, because I know you're so passionate about that, and I know that faith has brought you so much strength. And then like a little piece at the end would be like on our relationship from your perspective, knowing I'm a meditator and follow more in Eastern traditions, one could say, and work with plant medicines and work with some fields that are quite esoteric in nature. And yeah, it's kind of some perspective on that, if you're kind of clear on what that question was. I kind of rambled a bit there.
Yeah, no, it's again, when you grow up, and I'll say it's a close-knit community, but your way of thinking is very much in line with everybody else. A lot of times you don't have, I'll say, experience of, well, we used to say what the real world was like, or what is out there. And as you travel, or as you get to know more people, you start to see the differences between people, and a lot of times that scares people. With the faith that, again, I'll speak up personally here now, that I have, it's never been a question of whether there was a creator. I have that faith, and again, is there something that I could say to prove to people? Well, no, I'm sorry, there is not a definitive thing that I can say that, oh yeah, this is the way it is. Like, yes, I believe that. And anybody that has I'll say, go back, whether they believe there was evolution and there was a big bang, well, then they have a faith in that too, because again, they can't definitely prove that either. So you have to understand that. And once you realize, okay, that's your starting point with other people that are not, I'll say, a Christian or not into another religion, it takes away that, I'll say, hostility or not understanding a person. So that's helped me understand with what you're going through too, because I'll say the God that I believe in is our creator, is the creator, is so beyond what I can relate to or understand. So why am I trying to put him in a box to my level of thinking? And when I try to do that, it blows up my face. So it's at the point where, okay, you know what? This is what I have as far as, I'll say, scripture from the Bible, but how is it interpreted? Well, a lot of it is, I don't know. It's a faith. But the biggest thing is, again, going back to the scripture, and what Jesus taught us was a love for everybody, an understanding for everybody, not Christian, not non-Christian, not healthy, not this way. It's everybody. And when he was on this earth, that's the love he showed. And in fact, the biggest problem he had was people in the church, that people that wanted to have that strict religion. And again, we look through history, and the people that are supposedly these religious leaders have taken that power and abused people. And of course, it's hurt, I'll say, the Christian way of life and life that Jesus kind of lived on earth for us there. So again, once you have that understanding that we're not perfect, we're all broken, we're all sinners, having a understanding for other people and an empathy, an understanding, just to realize that they're in the same boat really helps, again, with our relationship together, spiritually wise or whatever, because we're going to always be on different levels, and just to have that conversation, it's a great thing.
We are not to judge either.
No.
So, but I want to just say one thing, though, a little off subject. Zach, you had said to me, in your late teens, you went through a little bit of a phase there, and you said to me, I don't love. I'll never love, and I don't love. Do you remember that?
Not at that particular time, no, but I could touch into
what I
might have been going
then we could see you did have love because of Chewy, our dog.
Uh-huh.
And Chewy was your, how do you say it?
It was almost a grounding point to where there was an unconditional love that he could experience with Chewy. And Chewy was our dog. It was a golden retriever.
Yeah.
And if anybody's had dogs like that, they'll understand. You know, you can screw up left, right, and center, and you come home, and that dog will love you anyways.
Yeah. And that's how we love Zach. Like.
Yeah, it was a good example for us. Chewy taught us a lot.
We were very similar for a time. Yeah. Well, touching back into that time, I was going through a depression that caused me to go so numb that the experience was I couldn't feel much love. And for so long, when I was struggling, it took years of dealing with pain, and then eventually I became so numb. And I remember there was a point where what holds me to this life I had to kind of really come in contact with, because I thought about suicide for many years. And there was a point when it was you both, and my love for you and how much you loved me, that really kept me here. It's like my anchor. And then there was a point where I became so numb that I couldn't feel that love. And that's when I had my suicide attempt and I hung myself. And it was that point when I was shut off. So that's kind of what I'm sensing into. It was probably around then when I would have said that. Yeah. Because that was like the numb point.
Yeah.
And
I remember bringing Chewy to the hospital. Remember that?
No, I don't remember Chewy there.
No, I brought him to the hospital.
Maybe.
And you came outside and I left. Right. I went and sat in the car because you wanted to be alone, and you went for a walk, and I kept thinking, no, he loves. He has love. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing with depression and certain coping strategies, which were mine, which was, is just like an inability to feel, and I wanted to feel. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason why, like, people hurt themselves. I was tuning into this more, and I did a little bit of cutting for myself. And there's many reasons why people do it and what they get off of it. But one of the reasons for individuals who can't understand why an individual cut themselves, when you're that numb, you do want to feel. Or I wanted to feel. And cutting yourself brings you into the body. It gives you some pain. It gives you something. And that connects me back to my emotions in my body. And that's therapeutic on some level. There's multiple levels of self-destruction under there and all sorts of things that can be pulled in there. But if we go into ritual pain and other traditions like the sun dance and even tattoos, and pain is something that can be something very therapeutic, just the context. So that little piece there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I put you through a lot in learning about that unconditional love, which, it's once again one of the reasons why I love and I'm so proud of both of you and feel so blessed that you're both my parents. Is, I've been through addictions and tumultuous relationships, court cases, just a number of wrong turns, and I know that you have helped pull me out and help keep me clear, because I know many people who are in similar situations who didn't have parents who were loving them and guiding them, and they are the ones who more likely got swept away and they got too caught up in those things, whereas having that foundation with parents and other things to pull me back was one of the probably I wouldn't have had it. I would have got lost way off a track.
And that was the thing too. I mean, I don't think maybe one of our friends, but most of them said, you need to kick him out. You need to kick him out. He's got to grow up. He's got to learn. And there was no way we were going to do that.
And maybe that could have worked, but that wasn't the path
we
you
were
took.
too afraid how bad you would spiral.
Yeah, it would have been, again, we had that conversation and that too, but it was also a gamble that we did not want to take of, if you're out someplace else and you cry out for help and we're not there, we'd rather be there and deal with this.
Yeah.
But again, our relationship with you, surprise, surprise, it's been all your life. So we've seen you from being born, from what you were like when you were 1, 2, 3, 4, and you were very happy.
Oh, you had such character.
You had such character. You'd get together with your cousins, and we would just sit and laugh because you guys would laugh. You would make each other laugh, and you'd have such good times, and you had that, again, you had amazing humor and that. And I'll say that really helped us through the dark years because we knew what was there. I'll say this again. Everybody rebels at some point in their life. Most people do it in their teen years because that's when they're going through such changes and everything seems like it's the end of the world if somebody breaks up with this person or somebody doesn't talk with that. But they need to go through that time of questioning, who am I? What am I doing here? What is my relationship with other people? And if you're bombarded with negative relationships, it's going to push you down. And it will push some people down even if they're in good relationships as far as family. But we knew that we needed to be there for you. And that's why it was never a question of kicking you out. If it would have gone on farther and we felt that we really were at a point where we were enabling you to continue on your, I'll say a destructive life, I don't know what would happen then. But at the points where you were at, and especially when you were suicidal, it wasn't even a question. It was just, what do we need to do to help get you through this?
And when we did ask him to finally move out, what were you, 27? You said to, because we knew you were good. You were in a good spot. You had started with this breath work, and you were finding yourself, and you were finding joy, and you had been to dental hygienist school, and I just remember laughing when we said, okay, we think it's time you move out. And you're like, yeah, I don't think that's very beneficial for me. We're like, we'll save a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, I went to school in 2014. I moved out to Toronto for a bit. Yeah. So I was 24 then. And then I came back. And then I was like saving money, kind of came and lived with you. And I lived in Cloverdale before Breath.
Yeah.
Okay. A little while there, yeah. But yeah, that was definitely a point when I was really confused about where I wanted to go to as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in a relationship on and off, that was also giving me a little tail wag, things to process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And right now I'm studying shamanic and medical qigong, and it's very out there, as well as working a lot with ayahuasca and plant medicines. What's your perception on that whole realm of plant medicines or my relationship with it?
Well, personally, we think you're a loony, but no. Again, we kind of always say, well, that's out of our kind of area of expertise or whatever. But again,
we don't understand it, so when you don't understand, then you have questions, right?
Yeah, but it's not something where I'll say we deny everything. A lot of times, yeah, we want to hear about it, because again, a lot of the stuff that you do is basically been around for thousands of years, and it's not denying there's a creator or anything like that. It's not that way. It's just a matter of interpretation from other people that realize how complex our bodies are, and just the healing that can take place through, non-prescription, non-science, through breath, through plants, to be able to relieve stress, through, again, it's just, we don't even touch our brain power, so why do we know what can heal us or help us in these healing things? And again, as you get older and things start to break down, you start to try anything. So
and Zach steps out of the box right away, and you look for answers, and it's very admirable.
Yeah, it's been fun because I've worked with so many different traditions. It's like, okay, well, this week I'm doing 4 days without food and water. And then for this one, I'm going to take a hallucinogenic brew and I'll be vomiting. And for this one, I'm going to pierce myself. And But I feel like I always explain it well, because I start off with the benefits, the intentions, why I'm doing this. And that's really the root of all these practices. It's why we're doing it, the therapeutic reasons, etc. And then when you get to the actual, what's going on, then it can sound a little bit off, but these are from different cultures. We were raised in a certain way of seeing the world, and I had to constantly bracket my way of seeing the world when I study a different culture myself. It's like studying Chinese medicine versus studying indigenous medicine from Peru. It's like we got to take our frame of reference and, as best as we can, take all of our personal biases and ways of seeing the world and be like, okay, what are they doing over there? And I always come at it from a place of, yes, what are the benefits? But a lot of the stuff we can't prove, so I go, okay, I'm going to do it. And what does it do to me? And then I'm the tool myself. I'm putting my own body as the chemistry lab there. Yeah. And then I can figure it out from there. So it's a different way of exploring the world.
Yeah. Well, we play it more safe and Western way, I guess you want to call it, or
that being said.
But again, we are. I think we're very open to a lot of things that you are learning and trying in that. That again, I know myself, not Julie, probably not as much, but am open to. Well, I'll try it. I'll try it once or whatever, and see what happens. But again, it's.
So you want to come to ayahuasca? Is that what you're saying? There's one next month.
What's that hallucinogenic tree or the frog poison and that? Or?
Yeah, we can do them all. Yeah. Well, I know you're both going through a few things with your health, and we want to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. What I'm kind of dealing with right now is, something that's been dealing with through my entire life is dealing with stress, and always had it. Always had, I'll say, certain tools that helped. I guess when my younger years, I would go play hockey, which was a physical sport, and that was one of my great ways of getting out. I don't know whether you call it anger, but stress and that. So it was a time where physically and mentally you would just push yourself to a limit, and it was it was very helpful. Once you get a little older and your body breaks down, you can't quite do that. So how do you deal with stress? And it's difficult. It's something, again, where we always want to be so in control of our lives, of things that happen. And as a almost everybody here has the testament for what COVID did. Kind of turned this world upside down, and we realized is just how fragile life is and how we can't control things. And I just have a difficult trying to do that, where I want to fix things. You tell me a problem and I want to fix it, and you can't do it, and I know that, but how do you relieve that stress then? And that's now turned into some physical things with some neck pains and jaw pains and and it's now something that Zach's been able to work with us in trying to I'll say relieve that stress. Now Julie has something else, and I'll let her share with what she has.
I don't know what I have, so that's the frustrating part. I'm going through CAT scans and MRIs and blood tests and waiting for more CAT scan, and I have pain in my back, kind of in what Zach says, my kidney area. My doctor thought it was the lungs, but they're clear. Although I'm probably got myself so worked up, I can't get that deep breath, and because I'm anxious to know what's going on and praying it's not a cancer. But with you, you help me, give me the tools to breathe, to get the breath, and it's just really helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate you both sharing openly and honestly. That's what I like about these podcasts, and for those listening, I know people love authenticity, and it's actually speaking about what's going on with us from all these dimensions. And health conditions are difficult, and it's so hard to manage life in this modern era. We're talking about all the things that we have going on, family members, stress, owning a business, and I know with you both, you take on a lot and you manage it really well, and yet there's still other pieces that we have to balance in our life. And we've talked a lot about this, is like this whole field that I'm in of nervous system regulation and really dealing with our negative emotions and stress and taking care of ourselves. And we live in a culture that doesn't necessarily offer us as much time to take care of ourselves. And many of the ways that I see that you were brought up in was not conducive to that either. This whole idea of listen to your body and work in accordance with that doesn't necessarily go along with the 9 to 5 and having children at a young age and having to provide. It's doing everything else for everybody first, and then not really having an in-depth way of dealing with our negative emotions, our frustrations, our angers, our worries, and having tools, once again, that are within us, that are, not the TV and not things that may have some kind of therapeutic value, but aren't really getting at some of the root causes of what are going on, and then the expanded vision there of like how our emotions and thoughts are related to our physical body and developing that. So it's been really interesting to be along on your health journey as you guys find what's going to work for you. Mm-hmm. And I've been really proud of you for exploring, because we weren't doing breath before you had these things. So it's been a really beautiful healing opportunity for me to hold space for you and to be a part of that. And it's been so rewarding for me to be able to see you more on Zoom if that's what it is, but just be more a part of your life, as you've helped me so much. And I think that's part of this generational shift is, at a certain point when you get older, you've taken care of me for so many years, and there are certain things as you get older I'm going to become more aware of and more specialized in, and that'll be something that I have to offer you now. And it's like this beautiful reciprocal relationship, and the importance of like staying in connection with that. The same way with Nan. our grandmother, and there's certain things that she can't do, and it just comes so easy for us. Computers are obviously one. It's a good example. But, you know, it's that, and then Nan has such wisdom. All elders, people who have been through life, have wisdom because they've been through things, and it's so important for us to continue those relationships. And from that, I'll round off in a question here. Just in speaking about managing stress and these inner tools that I speak about, our breath, our body movements, expressing our emotions, were you taught any of that when you were younger, or was that like, is this a completely new thing?
The only time I learned to breathe was giving birth.
Right.
Right? So, really.
Yeah, as far as I'll say definitive, like breath, yes. I'll say there's other tools that we did have growing up. At least, I'll speak personally again.
Yeah.
Again, growing up in a Christian home, one of our things is we did not work on Sunday. And I know a lot of people think that, well, that's just a Christian thing or whatever, and yet it goes back to why. Okay, because our body needs to take that one day off per week to rest and recover. And yeah, for us it was okay. You still had to do chores where the cows still need to be milked or whatever, and we still did that. But if we had grain out there to combine and it was going to rain on Monday, it didn't matter. We did not work on Sundays, and it's something that we should take. Ours was, I'll say it's a Christian thing, but even if you're not Christian, how important taking that time off per week, and then also breaking it down to a time every day to recover. And again, with Christian was to pray and to meditate, to be calm with yourself. And the world that we live in, where we are so bombarded with technology and information, and a lot of times we don't have that quietness. And again, going back to one of the things we love to do is go on holidays with the motorhome, and we take our Jeep along and we head up into some places, and we're the two of us where nobody's around for miles around, and it's just, you turn it off and you sit there and you listen
to the birds.
Sometimes nothing, just a breeze going through the leaves, and how therapeutic that is. And again, now with you teaching us, I'll say a more direct way with breath is, now trying to incorporate that. And again, we're not yoga people or whatever in that, but a lot of it is where people love to take their yoga mats and go do this at different points or whatever. And we're kind of doing the same thing, is just a natural way of refreshing ourselves. And again, but now making it on purpose and understanding why we're doing this really helps.
But it also brings us close together in a different way, because we work together. So much of our day is spent discussing work and what job, and after dinner we're like, okay, what's our day tomorrow? Do I stay home and draw? Are we on the road? Are we measuring up? What are we doing? And it becomes about work. Yeah. So when we get away, we try to put work away. That doesn't happen all the time, but it's just a fun. We can have fun, and we can enjoy each other. We can enjoy creation, and we can sit and be silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
You mentioned two important cycles, is like the daily rhythms, in time with when the sun comes up. We're working most during the afternoon, and we kind of peter down towards the end of night. And then another big one is in cycle with the seasons of the year. And I live in Squamish, and people are going 24/7. When it's summer, they're biking, and then we get to the winter, they're skiing, and there's no off season where we go into rest. Like, all of nature is beginning to slow down. And it's not that you can't do skiing and all those things, but it's like we can overdrive our system if we're not integrating, and our nervous systems need that time to slow down and rest. Otherwise we lose our sensitivity towards life. We habituate and we get stuck in one frame, and it's so hard to move without the limitations of our mind if we're always on that one train. And that's what keeps us caught.
Yeah. And you remind us all the time, like you've been saying for years, I worry about Dad, you know, and...
Oh, I worry about both of you, but for different reasons. But I don't actively worry about it. It's just it's an ongoing thing that I like to check in on, I'll say.
Yeah.
Well, we see where other people live, and a lot of times you'll see, I'll say, the red flags on somebody else, where, especially if you don't see them for a while, and all of a sudden you see them again, and you're going, oh, they've aged, or, you know, they don't look so healthy, or they're, you know, that glow in their eyes is not the same as it is, or they don't smile as much, and you, again, there's maybe you want to fix it, is why? What's going on in their life, and what do they need to bring that back? But just jumping back to that other part with us going and relaxing, is we also get to the point where we're going to relax and we get tired of going to relax. And this last time we got away we just spent a couple days where, okay, you know what, it's a beautiful day. We'd love to go out and explore stuff, but now we need just to slow down from that even. And we spent a couple days just
lying around. We sitting just outside the motorhome and sitting in the sunshine and watch the deers and
watch the deer or whatever and that. And it was, again, it's just you catch yourself being busy all the time. And even whether it's relaxing, you know, I know other people that go on holidays and they come back and they need a holiday to get all from their holiday because they were so busy seeing everything, and just, you know, so it's trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I say it's a really deep listening to the body and who you are, like the deeper parts of you, because ordinarily so many of the tasks we do day to day are to maintain, sustain, and grow, you know, our business, our food, everything else. And that's all outside of ourselves. But when we have an opportunity with free space to really tune into us, it's like, what do I need right now?
Yeah.
Do I need full rest? Do I need relaxing rest? Do I need to read a book? Do I need to stretch? It's like really tuning into that. We just don't have an opportunity to do that. You know, I'm in the world of breathwork and meditation, and as a new business owner, I'm constantly busy, and I don't have space during my day as much as most other people to check in and be like, actually, I just need to rest. It's like, no, you have clients booked all day.
Yeah.
So anytime that I do, I need to make sure that I'm doing the things to do to take care of myself. And that's my responsibility to myself and everybody else, because if I don't, then I'm not very cheerful, and you guys know that, and I don't show up in a really good way to help people or to be in good relationship, and that's just part of me taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And it's something that, you know, our society doesn't necessarily offer us much space to do, so we have to take responsibility to take care of ourselves, and it can be difficult because, you know.
Well, you see that too, and you talk to us all the time about that too, where because you're in touch with your body so much more than I'd say a lot of people are, especially us, most people are that way. You know when it's starting to break down, but you still have to catch yourself, because again, you get on that treadmill and you start turning, and sometimes you know, okay, I need to get off this and slow down. I need to take a break, but it's like I say, it's a tough thing to catch.
Yeah. Just because I'm more aware, it doesn't mean I was at the space and the time. Yeah. Well, it's just like, oh, I can feel my spleen and my liver and my back and my this and my this. It's like, okay, hold the ship down. We got till Tuesday. Yeah. And then it's kind of monitoring all these pieces.
It's like owning a vehicle. How long can I go on this? Yeah. I know this tire is still good. I know.
Gotta check in,
July.
I'm glad that our vehicles can heal themselves.
Yeah.
We can do a lot more with.
I'm glad you know how to change a tire now.
Change over.
You're
60.
An expert. Yeah.
Okay. And any other pieces really active in your life? Anything else going on?
I think it's, again, we're in a transition of our lives, and we want to, I'll say, make the right steps forward. And again, we want to, I'll say, build a foundation here too, where, again, no matter where we're at, because again, we both want to travel, because again, the U.S. and Canada, where we live, there's so many places that we've seen, and yet there are so many places we haven't seen, and it's just, I'll say, this earth that we live on is just incredible.
And we've met incredible people
yes.
along our few travels we've done.
Yeah.
And some good friends we've made, and yeah.
When we're at home here and you watch the news and you hear what's happening here, and it can really be depressing the way society is, and yet a lot of times we head out and you're staying at a campground or something like that, and you start to you meet people in different places, and your faith in mankind comes back. And I know we're a broken world, and it's people are paranoid about so many things, and the sky's falling here, sky's falling there, but it's something that I have a faith in mankind again, that through disasters or through issues like COVID, where a lot of people get together and help each other, it's and that's where we have to, I'll say, go back to that basic of taking care of the people that are close to us. And whether that's when we're traveling, or whether that's at home, whether that's at work, but having that respect for other people. And again, I'm just kind of rambling there, but it's just...
Yeah, I appreciate those words.
Yeah.
It feels like a good place to call a conclusion there. And speaking those good words, is there anything else that you'd like to share to complete us up for the session?
Well, just a quick thing again. I'll say it again, how incredible helpful that you've been for us this last couple of years getting through this. And again, it's something that I'll say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but the steps that you've taken, the man that you've become, again, it just brings joy to our hearts.
And Mom's gonna cry again.
Yes, Mom's gonna cry.
Just to be fair, I told them they had to say really good things about me the whole time. So they're just really, I'm poking and prodding them to make sure they say all these things. They're not true. Okay, well, thank you both for coming on the show. I'd love to have you on again. And let's go have some dinner quite soon. Thank you all for listening. Aya Om.